All right, so here's the solution to the challenge from the previous lesson. First, I'm going to comment out the code from the previous lesson. And then I'm going to import this constant called cars from practice.js. So let's go ahead and export it as the default, and then import it just below all the other ones. All right, so now that I've got access to this array called cars, let's start off by just logging it and see what it looks like in the console. You can see it's an array with 2 items inside. Both are objects, and then those objects have loads of properties and nested objects and nested arrays. This is starting to look a bit like the kind of stuff you get back from APIs, right? So how can I get this code to work? So the first thing that my table shows is the actual model, right? And I've got in my object this thing called model. So how can I pull it out so that I can use this syntax? Well, let's first destructure our cars array so that we have some variable names assigned to the first and second items. My first object in the array is my Honda and my second object is my Tesla. So I would love to give each of these objects their own variable names. And I can do that using destructuring. So I'm going to create a new constant, which is going to be an array destructure. And I've got the first item in my array was the Honda and the second was the Tesla. And I'm going to set it to equal that array of cars. So now, as soon as I've done that, you can see that some of my code, the error has gone, right? It now recognizes honda.model and tesla.model because now I've got access to these variables. So Honda is going to output the entire Honda Civic object. Now let's address the next step, the top speed. So we know that the top speed lives inside another object called speed stats. So we have to destructure this a little bit further. So let's create a constant and let's destructure the Honda or Tesla object. Let's say that we have access to this object now, Honda. How can we get hold of this top speed? Well, we first have to dive into the speed stats, and then we have to get hold of the top speed. Let's go ahead and set this constant equal to Honda and destructure firstly the speed stats property, and then we're going to add a colon and a set of curly braces. Now inside these curly braces, we're going to destructure the object that is stored inside speed stats a little bit further. So we know we've got something called top speed in there. We can pull out both top speed and the 0 to 60 if you want to, although in our case we actually only just need the top speed. And instead of calling it top speed, we're going to use that trick we learned about renaming it. Let's go ahead and call it Honda top speed. And so this line of code no longer has any errors. But we don't have one yet for our Tesla, so let's go ahead and repeat the same thing for our Tesla. And now, if you actually look at what's being rendered, you're already seeing our brand is being pulled out, or rather, probably should be better called model. Our top speed is being shown for both of the models. And now the last one we want to do is the top color. So we've got this property called colors by popularity, and we want to get hold of the black for the Honda and the red for the Tesla to be shown in our table. But in the starting versions of the code, you should be looking at something that looks like this, where we need to get a specific variable name called Tesla top color and Honda top color. So over here, we're going to create a new const that is going to destructure our cars, and we're going to pull out this colors by popularity from our Honda first, just in the same way that we've done over here with the speed stats. But we're going to dig into this a little bit further. So we're going to add a colon, and then we'd be able to get access to the array of colors. And if I want to give the first color a name, then I simply do the same thing as I would with normal array destructuring, where I get to specify a variable name for any of the items in the array. And in our case, we'll call it conda top color. And now if I repeat this for the Tesla and change this to Tesla top color, then you'll see that my table now shows the most popular color for Tesla and the first item in that array for Honda. So if you didn't manage to complete the challenge, it's time to go back and review it now. But if all of this is pretty clear, then head over to the next lesson and we're going to be looking at some more complex ways of using that use state hook. So for all of that and more, I'll see you there.